Hey, Mike.
Hello, Mr. Alex. How are you?
I'm doing great, my friend. How are you?
What a great opportunity that you're sitting on. That is just terrific.
Oh, thanks, my friend. We are, in DFW, we are one of the premier brokerages, and luckily, we've been fortunate enough that the marketplace is seeing what we're doing, and we've had tremendous growth in the 2 months that I've been here. Um,
Thanks.
and I have been preaching to them how great and close we are, but more importantly, we're close because I think you and I see eye to eye on how important listings are to the business. And if you want to have a great quality of life, if you're on the buy side, it's not going to happen. You got to be on the list side. So,
100%. How is the family doing with the new homes and the new lifestyle?
you know what? They're doing great. I'll tell you, Mike. Moving in the middle of a pandemic. By the way, I think pretty much everybody can see us right now. So we'll just chat till we get started. They can time in. It was a big move. You're in the middle of a pandemic, right? Wife, 3 kids, 2 dogs, a cat. But it really is a life story, I think, for a lot of people to realize that I was very content where I was, right? Like I loved my broker. You know that. You came in, you saw what a great group we had. I loved my team. I loved my brokerage. I loved my home. But it didn't play a role in where I wanted to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. And so many people are afraid to make moves in their career because they're happy. And yet they don't realize that being happy is actually holding them back from what they want to really accomplish in life. And so that's actually helped quite a lot in the growth. Sitting with an agent who tells us they're happy where they are. It's like, I want you to be happy, but is being happy holding you back from where you want to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? But the kids are great. We're in school, in class.
Good.
They're there, so that's awesome. My wife's playing tennis and getting now that the kids are set up, she's playing tennis and looking to restart her career in Texas. And the real estate market's on fire, man. The quality of the realtors are amazing too.
It's a great place to live. I mean, my son Tom just moved or is moving in October to Dallas.
I heard.
He's moving our company to Dallas, which is exciting. So we're looking forward to that, so we can come back and forth and visit Tom and my grandchildren in Dallas because it is a great city. I mean, Sabrina went to SMU to college, so she's very familiar with this whole greater DFW marketplace. So
Yeah.
it's going to be fun. Looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was talking to Tom the other day. It's like I keep telling people, I'm like, man, I'm friends with Mike, I'm friends with Tom, or with all these guys. It's cool. And Tom's like, I can't believe you moved to Dallas. I just bought a condo in downtown Dallas. I was like, wow, that's moving from the water to Dallas. That's a big move. I know it because we did it.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
But
Well, I have a great friend of mine in Dallas. His name is Mike Bowman, owns a big C21 office. He's been a client for probably 35 years, and Mike has always tried to convince me to move to Dallas. And I said, just a little too far from the ocean for me. So
yeah,
I've always stayed on the West Coast, but it's a great city. So do we have a good turnout for today?
so far we have 103 so far, and we haven't even started yet. And so I had to open it up. I had originally booked it for 100 participants, and then I ended up opening it up to 500 in the event that Houston and Austin wanted to jump in. I should have done it earlier. I had it specifically just for DFW, and then I reached out to my boss Charles, who runs. He oversees all of Texas, but he's particularly overseeing Austin and Houston. I'm like, you know what? If they're around and they can jump in. If not, we're recording it and we're going to share it. We're going to share it with everybody. So
That's great.
what's important about this meeting, I think, Mike, is like you can see my race medals, behind me. And I talk to people that you're going to have a goal, but you can't just have a goal. You need a how. And if your goal is a medal or a closing or 100 closings, you need a plan on how you're going to get there. There's a specific way in which you train for triathlons. There's a specific way in which you train to do 50 closings or 100 closings or 150 closings, as your seminar in January taught us. And that was the last in-person event I was at, actually.
Well, it was the last live event I've done.
Really? Wow, man. Wow.
I've
That was a
done,
great one.
since April 1st, I've done about 235 webinars. Okay. I do them on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I was thrilled when we got this one connected, and we're going to have some fun today.
Absolutely. Well, So it's funny. I got asked this question. I'm actually, we have a hard stop at 1. Mike, I know you do too, because you have many more meetings after this. I'm speaking on Inman after this. And in the prep, one of the questions they asked me was, is there anything that happened during COVID that you want to keep once the world gets back to normal? And I'm like, none of it. I don't want to keep any of it. Face to face, belly to belly, palm to palm. That's what I want. So,
I want an opportunity to be in front of people again. That's
right.
The name. Yeah.
That's right. Well, you're fabulous in front. So it's 12:01. I know you are a stickler for starting on time. We have 118 participants, Mike. Let me just welcome everybody, and we'll get started. Hello, everybody. My name's Alex. I am the Regional Vice President for Coldwell Banker here in DFW, one of the best regions in the entire country for Coldwell Banker. I will tell you, in the 2 months that we've been here, I've been here 2.5, we've gone from number 17 out of 43 regions to number 6 in the country. So we are rocking and rolling thanks to you guys. And today we have a very dear friend of mine, Mike Ferry, who, you know, is not only a legend in the business, but one of the greatest guys that I know. He's a huge fan of Coldwell Banker. I'm a huge fan of his. He's a huge fan of mine. And we practice and preach listings. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So Mike, the stage is yours. I know we kind of got a little, I got it pulled up on my screen, a little back and forth between us a little later. But you have about 125, so rock and roll.
Good. So I want to start by sharing a story that I don't think I've told you before, Alex. 2006, at our Superstar Retreat in Las Vegas in July, I took that film clip from, if you remember that wonderful film called The Perfect Storm. And it had a very tragic ending when the boat sank and George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg were sunk and died. I took about 3 minutes of that film clip and I did a voiceover. And in the voiceover, I talked about the 5 things I saw were going to happen in real estate in 07, 08, and 09. And I showed it to the 4,000 people at the retreat. It was so funny. Half the audience applauded, half booed me. Okay, these were my best clients, and they were booing me. Well, 6 months later, January 2007, I showed the film clip again at the production retreat that you attended this year in January. And this time, of course, they all applauded because everything that I had said actually took place. It was just common sense. I don't think it took a brain surgeon to figure out that 07, 08, 09 were going to be tough years based on what we'd experienced. So what I want to start today with is, instead of the perfect storm, I want to start with, this is the perfect market for a good, talented real estate person. In fact, my attitude today, Alex, and people get mad at me when I say this, if you can't do deals in this market, go get a job at Walmart. That's where you
I hear you. Absolutely.
The reason it's a perfect market is because of the inventory shortage. I mean, when did we ever believe, with our experience, that not having enough homes for sale was advantageous? And the reason is because for the first time, I've been in real estate 45, 50 years now. First time in my life, sellers are thrilled with their prices. And there's not a lot of negotiation except for up instead of down. Right. So I use this example. I show up with Alex and his wife on a listing presentation. He wants $650,000 for the house. It's worth $600,000. The initial presentation, we're negotiating to start. And usually the agent loses. They're going to take it at a price close to what the seller wants, or somebody else does. Well, once the contract is signed, then the second negotiation starts, which is getting the price down to the price it's supposed to be, which doesn't exist today. We know that. And of course, those little types of negotiations take place. But then the third negotiation is when the offer comes in, $50,000 below the list price. So what we're involved in the past is negotiate. Today, the only negotiation is how quickly can that seller get out of that house, because it's going to sell fast. I mean, let's face it. Anything we take today that is reasonably priced in almost any of the major markets in the country is going to sell fast. Okay. So for the first time, we're seeing the pandemic actually work in our favor, because there's still a lot of people that are in real estate that are under the covers, under the bed, in the closet, have never re-engaged. And that allows the good agents like your agents. I just did a big program for the California, Nevada, CB people. And I kept telling this wonderful group of people, I said, your competition doesn't exist in most cases. They're still afraid. So anybody that activates and really performs is going to win. But the second reason why it's such a great market is the abundance of buyers. Now, yes, we know agents do show people property. It's a horrifying thought
Oh
for
my
me.
God. I hear you. I hear you.
I
Bless him.
did.
God bless him.
I know in the early 1970s when I started as an agent, and some of the agents aren't going to like when I say this, I did 191 transactions in 18 months, and virtually 99%. I mean, to me, I drove a Porsche when I was a buyer in my car. Okay, if a buyer did show up, I said follow me, and if they got lost, I was happy. Okay, because I just wanted to take listings.
I hear you.
But see, today with the interest rates being so low, it's driving a lot of buyers into the market. Alex, I saw a report last week, which was fascinating. 67% of the people in America that could own a home today do. It's our highest number in the history of our country. And then it went on to say that the equity spread that people have in their homes today is the largest we've ever experienced. It's in the trillions and trillions of dollars. So I'm not worried about the market changing in a negative fashion. I'm not worried about the short sale market coming back strong because the people have enough equity in their homes. If they do have to sell, they can get out. So the name of the game today, if you want to make money, is list property. So if any of your great agents are concerned about what my conversation is going to be, listing property is the conversation. The challenge, well, it's funny because the only way a company can be recognized in a community is through the signs they have.
That's right.
There's no signs when you represent buyers. Okay.
Right.
There's only you represent sellers. So
nor can you make your own schedule if you represent buyers, right? Because when you represent buyers, you're at their mercy. If you have the listings, and Mike, you'll love this. In Texas, you put them on a lockbox, and the listing agent never goes to the showing.
Yeah.
So you could technically work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 and be a listing agent and not have to show on weekends and actually have a schedule, right?
Yeah. So I want to explain to them where I got my crazy idea about listing property. Started in real estate in 1970, Huntington Beach, California. You've been out in the West Coast enough times to know where I worked. And it was a Friday at noon, and I was walking out of the office to go to lunch. I'd been in the business for about a month. A friend of mine in the office, Paul Callahan, pulls up in his brand new Mercedes convertible with his wife. I said, hi, Paul, you guys going to lunch? He goes, no, we're going to Palm Springs for the weekend. I said, oh, you're going on vacation? He said, no, we have a house out there. We go every Friday at noon. We come back Sunday night. I said, Paul, how do you pull that off? He said, I'm really lucky. We have people like you working all week to sell my listings. And I said, I don't understand. What are you talking about? So his wife was in the office. Her name was Barbara. And he explained to me that, Mike, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I list property. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, my wife and I play golf. We socialize with our home in Palm Desert. And then on Sunday night, I present offers for all the people like you that keep selling my listings. And then he said, thank you. And he drove away. Okay. I walked in the office that day, and my broker was Pat McVeigh. And I said, Patrick, I am committing to listing property. That is going to be my business. And of course, he passed me on the back and said, well, then go take a listing. So what I want all of your great agents to understand is the fastest way to get paid in real estate is to take a listing today. Now, the joy, the emotion, the fun of getting a buyer to buy is always exciting. You know, to see the look on a buyer's face when they buy a home and to see the kids respond and, you know, that whole transaction is a wonderful experience. But the money in real estate is always listing property because, and I don't have any way to back this up, but I keep being told that 10 to 12% of the agents in the US today, Alex, are listing 90% of the homes that are for sale. With that being said, the competition is tough. But if you and I can work together to help your agents develop the mindset that they are unstoppable, guess what? They're going to take the listings. So what we want to look at is the fact that a buyer gets up in the morning and looks for an agent to help them buy a home. An agent has to get up in the morning and look for a seller. So it's two different processes. When we got together in Miami Beach that day, and that was a lot of fun that day we spent with your agents, we talked about the fact that the agent that is listing property has to go out in the market, whereas the agent that's working with the buyers can wait for the buyer to find them. So we have to change our thought process. And I know that CB on a national level is a powerful listing company. So what Alex and I have agreed to is to share some of these thoughts with you. So Alex, if you don't mind, I'll let you share that third point on inventory.
Yeah, so let's do it. So we talked about inventory shortage. We talked about low interest rates, and that the market should remain strong for the rest of 2020, first quarter of 2021. Worst case scenario, when I read this, Mike, I was shocked. Worst case scenario, we have 4 million transactions this year alone. Forget even the first quarter. That's 8 million commission checks to be distributed. Now, you made sure and highlight, you wanted me to see that. Why?
Okay, so what I try to help agents understand, well, first of all, let me share this with you. January, February was very strong in real estate nationwide. March and April, it went in the tank with the pandemic starting. May, June, July, August were 4 of the best months we've had in the last 20 years on a national level. So the number of transactions has been moving around. Originally it was 4.2, then it dropped to 4 million. Now they're projecting 4.5 million real estate. That's 9 million commission checks. And what, Alex, all I wanted the agents to see through our conversation was the size of what this industry means and how much is there. And whatever number they said, it's attainable. I mean, if an agent says, I want to do 1 listing a month, it's there. If they say, I want to do 10 a month, it's there. That the market is big enough to support the goals the agents have. But here's the fun part. I'm going to ask each agent to take out 2 business cards. And I want them to take right in the back of the card, how many listings they want to take now in December 31st. So I want them all just to take a moment and say, okay, I have 2 weeks left in September. The minimum should be 2 listings in the month of September. Minimum should be 3 to 4 in October, November, December per agent, okay? And we could double the size of CB's market share by the end of this year if we all list property. There's no question. And what they have to always understand is the more listings they take, the easier they are to get. And
Amen.
Yeah, that's what most agents don't ever come to grips with. The more you take, the easier they are to get, because it's like anything else. As you do it more, you get better at it. And that's what we want the agents to do. So I want them to write on the back of the card how many listings they will take from now to the end of the year. On the second card, write the same number and give it to their sales manager. So every time they
all right, I like it.
It's called accountability. Okay?
Right.
And see what happens is every time the manager does a virtual conversation with the agents or sees them in the office, if they just hold the card up and point to it, that's going to keep reminding the agents what the job is supposed to be, because the listings are available because such a small group of people are working to get them. And that's the thing we try to get them to understand. Now,
and Mike, I'm going to pause you. And I know you obviously have your agenda, but I know you well enough to know you and I can banter back and forth and you can pick right up. Accountability is an interesting animal, right? A lot of people, I think people who look at accountability as a bad thing, look at it as more of a reflection of themselves, as to them not doing their job and now somebody's going to hold my feet to the fire. I think not only great sales managers, but great salespeople as well will look at accountability and say, the person that's holding me accountable, they're not doing it to micromanage me. They're doing it because you can't improve what you can't measure. They're doing it to make me so good at what I do that I'm going to be able to go and do more of it with less effort, right? I love that 11 or whatever the number is.
You know, it's interesting. This goes way back to the early 1970s. My broker, Pat McVeigh, took me up to Santa Monica to meet one of his best friends who ran a good company. And Pat was going to speak at their sales meeting that morning, and he asked me to come along. And the owner of the company, his first name was Tim. He had about 30 salespeople, which in 1970 was a pretty good size office. And Alex, he started the meeting by saying, okay, everybody knows the drill. Bob, how many hours did you prospect last week? How many contacts did you make? How many leads did you generate? How many deals did you do? And he went through all 30 people before the meeting started and asked them those 4 questions. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is the accountability that people hate. It's the accountability that causes production to take place, because Tim was relentless on the numbers with his people. And that's where my thoughts about accountability became an important part of our business. But you know, it's interesting. if we really look at working with a buyer today, and please, I want everybody to accept this and not to turn this thing off because of what I'm going to say next. In today's market, if you have a buyer and you can find a house that's even reasonable, and you can open the door and you shut up, they're probably going to buy it. That's the skill level you need. However, to win against Alex or go against Mike to get a listing, if you don't have good skills, I'm going to beat you like a bad stepchild. I mean, you're going to have a hard time, let me tell you.
All right. So what are those skills?
Yeah. So the skills are prospecting, lead generation, lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, the strength of the presentation, and handling objections. Alex, Sabrina and I, we have our home in Las Vegas. That's where our company is headquartered. I was born and raised here in Newport Beach, where I am today. We have a beautiful place here. But 3 weeks ago, we decided to sell this property and buy another one because I wanted to stay near my kids because all my kids are here in Newport. I called 2 agents. Agent 1 shows up at 3 o'clock. Sharp guy, 35 years old. I mean, a real professional. Here was the challenge. He knocks on the door, opens the door, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, you're really Mike Ferry." I said, "I was when I woke up." Okay. Just make your presentation. The guy was great. He made a great presentation. Now I told him, my wife Sabrina is in Canada with her family today and tomorrow. Make your presentation. I'll pick one of the 2. I'll call her and tell her we'll sign the paper. Just before he left, he said, "Now let me tell you how I operate." I said, "Fine." He took all the paperwork back, put it in his briefcase and said, "Now when you're ready to sign, I want you to call me." I said, "No, let me make sure I understand the process. You want me to be in charge of lead follow-up as the seller." He said, "That's how I operate." The second agent shows up, makes a good presentation, probably not even as good as the first one. And here's what the guy says to me at the end. "I know you're going to decide tonight when you talk to your wife. What time tomorrow at 8 o'clock should I come by and pick up the contract in the morning?"
Oh, the assumptive close. I love it.
Guess who I listed with? Agent number 2. Okay. It was a no-brainer. See, what the agents have to understand is this is a skill. Watch, Dallas Cowboys, the Texas Rangers, the Houston Rockets, the Dallas Mavericks, the soccer team, the Stars, who just beat our Las Vegas team going into the finals for the Stanley Cup. All of these professional athletes are skill-based athletes. Everything is based on skills. So if we could help them understand that the ability to perform is based on their ability to learn the skills. And of course, we have so many great people in my business today. I mean, my son Tom is one of the best, inspirational, exciting, I get excited every time I talk to him because he's so inspirational. I'm not inspirational. I'm demotivational because people don't want to hear what I have to say. But you've got to learn the skills to have the confidence to do the job. And the hardest skill is prospecting. No question about it. So for the last 45 years, Alex, I have always sang the same tune. It's just a numbers game. And I remember saying that to your agents in Miami, and about half their eyes got big and lit up and half of them looked away from me. And you were sitting to my right and you had a smile that big on your face because it is a number. It's a numbers game. I mean, if you want to take 3 to 4 listings a month, you got to learn to talk to people. And people ask me all the time, why do agents not prospect? I said, well, they don't know what to say. And if they don't know what to say, they can't do what they're supposed to do, which we'll talk about in a minute. So what I'm going to ask your agents is this. Would they consider starting today, 5 days a week through Christmas, to make 20 quality contacts per day? Now, quantity is 20. Let's look at the quality. I know you're a big fan of Earl Nightingale, as am I, because I worked for him for 4 years. In 1968, sitting in Earl's office in Chicago, he gave me a quote. And Alex, I'm going to forward this quote to you today because it's how you and I think.
Sure.
Listen to what Earl Nightingale said in 1968. The quality of your prospecting contacts determines the quality of the leads you get, which determines the quality of the appointments you go on, which determines the quality of the listings you take. Bingo. That says the whole thing. So here's what I want the agents to think about. Buying leads from Zillow is a method of prospecting. All right. Doing calls around your listings and sales is a better quality contact. Okay, holding an open house is an important part of the process. Calling your past clients will get you better results. So what we have to look at with our prospecting is, where am I going to get the highest return on my investment of time and money? And that's where the quality part, I really think, comes into play. And it's hard to get agents to accept that because, 98% of the training in real estate is buy your leads, do your branding, social media, do your marketing, do your mail outs. And I say absolutely to all those things, yes. However, calling a for sale by owner who is not getting traffic today because people are not driving around is going to get you a better result than holding an open house if you want to get listings.
So let me ask you a question, Mike. You said 20 quality contacts per day.
Yes.
People may be listening to this and saying, okay, is it just calling 20? Like, do I call 20 FSBOs, or does the contact actually mean speaking to somebody? Is it 20 conversations or 20 contacts?
Good. So I always say a contact and a conversation are the same. A contact is when you're having a discussion with a decision-making adult. So doing an email campaign to me is not a contact, okay? Even if we can check to see if they've opened a much, which we can do.
Sure.
Holding an open house, you could have quality contacts, but they're going to be more buyer-driven than seller-driven. So the quality of the work we do, but the quality also is the conversations, the words we use, the enthusiasm we have. When Sabrina and I left your office that morning in Miami, it was about noon when we left.
Yep, that's right.
We both said the same thing. If Alex's people are not excited about their business after listening to you and I, they should get in a casket and wait. Okay? Because
I hear you.
Because part of the quality is the energy and enthusiasm you bring to the picture and what you're trying to accomplish. So we put together a little listing plan. I'm going to have Alex share it with all of you on how to take 4 listings per month, and then I'm going to spend some time talking about it also. So
now, Mike, one of the things I love about you and I, we haven't talked in a while, but you and I we had a long conversation right before I accepted the position. But you and I could just pick up and just start talking. But, the interesting thing I share with people, particularly in DFW, there's over 43,000 realtors. Specifically, I said the other day, there's 43,560 realtors in DFW. And Benny Dinsmore out of our Frisco office calls me out. He's like, are you sure you're not confusing that with the square footage of an acre? And I got confused, but it is over 43,000. But here's the interesting thing. What I try to preach to our agents all the time is, and you talked about energy, you talked about enthusiasm, you talked about passion, is because that's contagious. If there's 43,000 realtors in our marketplace, customers have a choice with whom they're going to want to work with. And if they have a choice with whom they're going to want to work with, they're going to choose somebody they like and they trust. They trust you because of what's coming out of your mouth. They like you because of your energy, your vibe, your passion. So I wanted to throw that in there. So we talked about past clients, center of influence, just listed, just sold. So I'm going to read what you got for me here, Mike. Take 4 listings or more a month. You got to set a 30-day plan, which is interesting because I want you to dive into this. So to take 4 listings per month or more, it's funny. You and I are in the same boat, both with our Starbucks cups. You got to set a 30-day plan for each month for the remainder of this year. Keep the plan simple and include the following 5 things. How many hours per day are you going to prospect? What's the number of contacts you're going to make? How many leads did you generate? How many appointments did you set? And how many listings did you take? 5 very simple metrics. Can you dive into that for me? And Mike, I want to ask you this, which is not on here. Talk to me about why, you're saying, hey, give me your goal for the rest of the year, but you want us to take 30-day increment goals. So why the goal for 30 days and not the whole year? And let's talk about those five metrics.
The reason why I went with this plan starting the 1st of May, Alex, is the pandemic threw everything upside down. There's no question. And when the president announced on March 15th to close the country for 30 days, I was dumb enough to believe 30 days later, everything was going to be okay. And then, of course, they extend another. Well, now we're 5.5 months into this thing, and it's not changing. However, what I discovered is we needed to shorten the plans because of the normal emotion people feel, the fear they experience, learning how to do things virtually like we're doing today versus live. I mean, you and I are good virtually. We're a lot better live.
I suck virtually. I suck.
No, you do great. I mean, because your energy and smile. So what I did is I said, okay, how do I motivate an agent to the fastest result? And that is make a 30-day plan instead of a 1-year plan.
Right.
They had a 1-year plan in January. Most of them got derailed March and April. They made a strong comeback in May, June, July, August. We want that to continue. So I thought, to continue people producing, let's set shorter plans.
Okay.
And this started because in 1970, Alex, my broker Pat McVeigh and I are sitting at breakfast. He hands me a 3x5 card. And he said, print your name at the top. Now, I went to 12 years of Catholic school. You do what you're told, or they hit you in the head with a ruler. So I wrote my name across the top of the card. And then Patrick said to me, I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and I want you to be honest. Now, Patrick was my boss. He was a very close friend. He was my mentor. So I did what Patrick said. How many hours will you prospect today? I said 4. He said, can you do 4 hours a day? I said, Patrick, I love to prospect. It's my favorite part of the business. I can prospect 8 hours a day. So I wrote 4. How many contacts? I said, at least 40, probably 50 a day. I'm only asking your agents to do 20. It's a piece of cake. It's 2 hours of work. How many leads can you generate? I said, 1 good, solid, real lead a day. How many appointments can you set? My goal, Alex, when I was an agent, was to go on 1 listing appointment a day, 5 days a week, 20 a month. If as we get to know your agents a little better, and hopefully that'll take place as you and I keep working with the agents, as we get to know them better, they have to understand there's a lot of people that take 15 to 20 listings a month all over the country, and they do it regularly. Starts with the appointment. And then Pat said, how many listings can you take? I said, 15 a month. But then he did something interesting. He said, sign your name at the bottom. I said, why? I want you to create a contract with yourself for what you're going to do for the next 30 days. Okay. But then he did the magical thing. He handed me 5 more cards and said, duplicate this card 5 times while we have breakfast. So I'm sitting there writing while he's eating. We finished, and I said, what's the point? He said, I want you to tape one to the mirror. When you're shaving, brushing your teeth, look at your job for the day. Good. Then he said, give one to your spouse. I said, why? Ever hold it up when you leave the house in the morning, say, honey, this is your job. Go do your job. Okay. Give one to your sales manager, which I did. Put one on your desk. Keep one in your pocket. I made that 3x5 card really my little plan for every single week of every month. Folks, the first 18 months I was in real estate, closed and pending 191 transactions, of which 90% were listings sold. So don't tell me it doesn't work. Tell me you're not willing to do the work. And I'm okay with that. What is an average commission check for an agent now in the DFW market for you folks?
Well, the average sales price for our company is close to $400,000, so almost $12,000. Nice, decent sales price.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you know, if you look at $12,000, it's a lot of money. People move to Texas, Nevada, and Florida very often for weather and for tax reasons.
Right.
So it's a wonderful bonus when you get a $12,000 check. My average commission when I was an agent in 1970 was $285 per house in Southern California, because average sales price was $28,000.
Yeah.
And the broker would never pay anybody more than 50%. So today, the challenge with this plan, Alex, we have to have a copy of it as leadership to keep reminding them what the plan is, because the money is so huge today. So what I say to agents, and this is sometimes hard to accept, don't think about the commission check. Think about the number of deals. If you think about the number of deals and you say, I did 3 deals, I go, okay, 3. But if you say I made 30 grand, we go, oh my God, you made 30 grand. So don't think about your check. Think about the number of deals, because see, today, more than ever, and this is your strength and I believe mine, it's the word mindset.
Oh,
keeping your head on straight during the challenging times. And in a good market, there's challenging times. In a bad market, there's challenging times. And when you have a crazy market like we have today, you got to keep your head on straight. It's what you're willing to put in. Zig Ziglar, Texas native. I mean, Zig Ziglar used to always say, garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. And I got to know Zig real well when I was really young. In fact, I went to one of his first seminars where my broker brought Zig in to speak to the company in 1969. And the broker paid him $100 to fly from Texas to California and speak for 3 hours and fly home. And I picked him up at the airport, and that's how I got to know Zig. Garbage in, garbage out, garbage in, garbage out. Don't let the garbage in, because if it's not in, it can't come out.
Yeah. Mike, I think where you and I, and sorry to interrupt, I think that, you know, you can be the greatest coach / trainer in the world. I could be the greatest RVP. You could be the greatest realtor in the world, best lister, best buyer's agent, doesn't matter. If you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, nothing else matters, right?
That's exactly.
And last but not least, and you may touch upon this, so I'm sorry if I steal your thunder. I think the greatest difference when I attended your conference in January in San Diego, that you started off every day, you can do 50 deals. I'm going to show you how, but it doesn't matter if you don't believe you can do 50 deals. Then the next day was 100. You started out, you can do 100 deals. I'm going to show you how, but it doesn't matter if you don't believe you can do 100 deals. Then you got to the 150 deal, and you had them all sitting up front, guys making million, girls actually, older girls, like just everything, all age groups, men, women, whatever, didn't matter. And you started off and you said, you guys are doing 150 plus transactions. I'm going to show you how they did it, but it doesn't matter if you don't believe you can actually pull off the 150. It's all about mindset. So
it's all about mindset, and then you back up the mindset with the skills. Right. And that's where I think CB has always had an advantage. I mean, the company's 115 years old probably. And somebody gave me for about a month the book written by the two founders. And if you ever have a chance to read it, it's a phenomenal book to read about how the company started. And then I got to know a guy named Forrest E. Olson, who was the biggest independent in California. And he sold his company to Coldwell Banker Commercial back in the 60s, which was the beginning of Coldwell Banker Residential. And that's how that company started. So it's a fascinating company, but it's based on skills. But here's what's interesting, Alex. Once I got the mindset, once I got the skills, if I'm not involved in the activities that lead to production, nothing else counts. So activities become the name of the game. And what I ask of agents is what I call the 70-30 split, not commissions. 70% of your day, activities that lead to a listing or sale, 30% taking care of your business. And if you can spend 70% of your day, you're going to win in a big way every day. But being independent contractors, you know, we can show up for work in the office, never do anything all day long, go to Starbucks 3 times, go home and say to your spouse you worked, and they say, okay. Okay, what is the activity level that you're involved in? And then, of course, the fourth word is the word action. And without a doubt, the hardest action I believe for agents to do is learn what to say on a listing presentation. So I'm going to again ask Alex to share some thoughts on that particular point.
You got it. So what we got here, Mike, is listing properties requires a skilled agent that uses canned and scripted presentations. Non-productive agents fight being told what to say and learning canned presentations. A listing, quote unquote, a listing presentation requires showing a seller the exact process that you use. And this can only be done when you know what to say and what to do. If you don't know what to say, if I don't know what to say, I can't do what I'm supposed to do.
Period. End of conversation.
Right.
I want everybody to give Alex a round of applause. Hey, because that really is the synopsis of what our business is all about. How do we walk into a home? Because the seller wants to know what it's going to sell for, how long it's going to take, and what are you going to do to get it sold? And if we can't present those answers in a formidable fashion, they're going to pick somebody else. So, you know, Miami area is a great sports part of the world. LA is a big sports part, but Dallas is huge.
Oh yeah. I mean, it puts Miami to shame.
I think the state of Texas may be the sports capital of the world, college, high school, and professional. And I've been a Cowboys fan all my life, so I understand the Cowboys system. but they all work from a playbook. They all have scripted plays, whether it be obviously the Rangers, the Houston Astros, the Dallas Cowboys, the Stars when they beat our Golden Knights a couple of nights ago. It's all scripted. And their ability to perform is based on their ability to learn the script and follow the script. I want everybody to listen. I've done 7,500 seminars in my career for real estate people. I've never done one without the notes in my hand, ever. And I would never attempt to, because they give me the confidence. So Alex, I used to walk at a 7 o'clock listing presentation, knock on the door, seller answers. I'm so excited to be here tonight to get your home on the market, get it sold. May I come in? And that was my opening line. I used it every time. They say, come on in, of course, Mike. Then I would say, I've written down all these important questions and thoughts for you. Can we start and go through them together? They'd say, okay. And I would just read my script. And I did it every day, 15, 20 times a month, and did 15 to 20 deals a month for 2 straight years as an agent. And then I bought the company that I was working for. So don't tell me it doesn't work. Tell me you're not willing to learn it. Right. Because the hardest part of what we do is learning what to say, which gives us the confidence. I had somebody last week, Alex, say the following. A question came up on the chat box, and it was a young man, probably 30. He said, I don't care for your scripts. I like mine better. I said, okay. He goes, okay, what? I said, okay, use yours. I'm okay with that. Whatever works for you. By the way, for every 10 listings, how many presentations, how many do you take? He said 3. I said, okay, our people take 7 out of 10 if they follow the script. Would you rather have 3 or 7? I'd rather have 7. Well, then throw your scripts away and use mine. But then I asked him a fun question. I said to him, how many people a month download your scripts off the internet? He goes, well, none. I said, mine get downloaded 12 to 15,000 times a month.
For free, by the way.
See, you got to think about the fact that with social media, the way people operate today, and social media has some huge pluses and some huge negatives. One of the negatives is they can prejudge us before they meet us, because they go online and they look us up. We had dinner on, I guess it would be Friday night of last week, with a guy out of Los Angeles that wants to do some things with my company, and he's a billionaire. But his name was so ordinary, we looked him up, we couldn't find him. So I said to him, we couldn't find you on the internet. He goes, well, the key to my success is I keep a low profile. And then he said, but never tell an agent to have a low profile. They need a high profile, which is true. However, at the same time, because of social media, people judge us more than ever. They judge what we say, how we say it, how we look, how we respond. They judge, are we an authority when we walk in the door? So if an agent says to Alex or Mike, if a seller says to Alex or Mike, can you get my home sold? We will smile, hold up the pen and say, not until you sign the contract. Would you sign the contract, please? But they say to the average agent, can you get my home sold? And we go, I'll try. That's not the answer the seller wants to hear. Okay, we've got to develop the strength to learn what to say, and that only comes through role play and practice.
Talk to me about role playing and practice, Mike, because I will tell you that, you know, I'm 111 episodes into the Closer Club.
Yes.
And you've been on it, I think 2 or 3 times. Tom's been on it 2 or 3 times. I've had athletes, politicians, whatever. And you ask him, actually a very good friend of mine's a police officer. Not only is he a police officer, he's a pilot, a private pilot for the owner of Invicta watches. And across the board, doesn't matter what profession they're in or whatever. I ask him, I go, let me ask you a question. How do you handle a high pressure situation? How do you handle, so if I'm interviewing this guy named George Hincapie, who raced with Lance Armstrong, he was Lance Armstrong's #1 teammate, a fellow Texan, right? I said, here you are, Tour de France. You guys win 7 Tour de France's. You know, it's a 3-week race, but you typically win it on like 1 day out of the 3 weeks. How do you handle that pressure? He goes, Alex, we put in so many thousands of hours on the bike that when the high pressure, it's just muscle memory. My buddy, the police officer, how do you handle an emergency on the plane? Thousands of hours in the simulator. We don't even think about it. It's muscle memory. So talk to me. I really want you to harp on this, because this is the biggest thing I think agents in general, not just in DFW, but in the country, on the role playing, the underappreciation and undervalue of role playing. So can you talk to us about that?
In a little tiny city east of Los Angeles by 100 miles is a city called Apple Valley, California. It's kind of an unknown city. It's the halfway mark between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. And Cole Banker has the biggest presence in that market. And he's got 230 agents in 5 or 6 little offices, does a great job. I mean, it's a great operation. And it's interesting because we were on the phone last week chatting, the owner and I, and he said to me, how much time should a good agent put into role play and practice? I said, well, they should start every day for 30 minutes practicing whatever scripts they feel they need more confidence in, or whatever they're going to be working on that day. If they're going to be contacting buy owners that day, they should be practicing for sale by owner script. If they have a listing presentation, they should be practicing their pre-qualifying and listing presentation script. If they're showing property, they should be practicing the pre-qualifying a buyer script. And the guy said, well, is a half-hour day enough? I said, no, that's the beginning. A half hour in the morning and a half hour at the end of the day. I interviewed Don Shula, and you know that name because of your Miami connection, many, many years ago. And I said to Mr. Shula, how many hours do the Dolphins practice per week? And he smiled and said, depends on whether we won or lost the week before. He said, if we won, 50 hours. If we lost, 60. So we're motivated to win, okay? I said, you practice that much? He goes, Mike, we're professionals. There was a great little video put out right after we lost Kobe Bryant in January in that tragic accident. Yeah. And there was a little video of Kobe, and Kobe lived on the street from me for about 5 years, so I saw him almost every day. The videos, and he just casually said to this group, professionals practice, amateurs don't. Which one are you? And boy, I froze on that, because see, in real estate, you can do 5, 10, 15, 20 deals a year through your database, through the time, through the tenure, and never know what to say, because your referral business is strong enough. And I applaud that 100%. But if you want to take it to the next level, you're going to have to start competing against people that may be better than you. So that's where you have to learn what to say.
Mike, I'm going to stop you there. Sorry, I got a question on that, okay? I agree with you on sphere of influence, because I think if you work entirely on your sphere of influence, you know, the Metroplex, what they call DFW Metroplex, and what I've heard from Charles, we got people from Austin on, and Houston. Traffic in Austin is brutal. I'm actually going in a couple of weeks for a soccer tournament. And anytime, Charles, you know, if you're working all over Austin, if you're working all over Houston, that's a grind, right? If you're working all over the Metroplex, it's a grind. Yep. And so that's where having a farm area and listings is so important, because you're not going to be working, you know, driving all over the place. But I want to ask you a question specifically on prospecting. So you said, if today I'm prospecting for sale by owners, I'm practicing that script. If I'm calling expireds, I'm practicing that script. Do you recommend in your prospecting sticking to a certain type of contact on that day? So Monday, I'm only calling for sale by owners. Tuesday, I'm only calling expireds. Wednesdays, and this question actually came from an agent in Austin. He just texted me. So how does that happen? How do you recommend that?
Well, first of all, I always think the diversity of the methods of prospecting are what create the strength of an agent. So let's say that your agents decide they're going to take the 20 quality contacts as just try it and see how it works. So I would say 5 contacts from your database, past client centers of influence, okay? And do those first, because those are what I call friendly fire. Those are friendly conversations.
Got it.
You're not going to get rejected. Then do 4 to 5 buy owners and expireds. The buy owners really need us today because they're not getting the traffic on the street that they're used to getting, okay? Then do 10 to 12 just listed, just sold around any of the listings that they have or the company has, because you're bringing good news into the neighborhood. See, Alex, the just listed, just sold today is vital, because the sellers do not know what's going on because agents aren't out on the streets knocking on doors the way they have been in the past.
I went door knocking Friday, Mike. I went Friday for 2 hours with an agent. That's how much I believe in it. I went door knocking myself.
So. Yeah, I love knocking doors because I love talking to people. So if they would do 5, 5, and 10 they don't get into a routine that becomes negative or awful or a burden. But if they do just 20 of one each day, I think the mix is not a good mix. So that's why I recommend
practicing. Should they be warming up with the 3 scripts? Then if I sat down and my schedule allocates for me to call 5 sphere of influence, 4 to 5 by owner expireds, I'm taking notes, 10 to 12 just listed, just sold. Am I practicing those 3 scripts then prior to making those calls?
Yes, every day. And so you're going to practice each one for 10 minutes. And I hope they understand it. I mean, if they accept what I'm saying, I'm happy. If they don't accept what I'm saying, I'm still happy. Okay.
Mike, you got to understand something. Whether they're happy or not, ultimately, our job as leaders in real estate, whether it's you as a leader, as a coach and a trainer, industry-wide for all brokerages, or if it's me in DFW or Charles for Austin and Houston in DFW, our job is to not necessarily always put our arm around them and say it's a great job. It's also to help them, push them to be there. I mean, listen, Coldwell Banker has this amazing value proposition, but that's only part of the 2 legs. The other leg is us as leaders, and us as leaders are here to encourage, motivate, coach, and push to levels that they haven't seen before. So whether they like it or not, we're ultimately, the end goal is to try to make them better at what they do. So, and that's what you're doing too.
And you know, I'll never forget, I had a high school football coach that went on to become the defensive coordinator at USC when they won national championships, and then became the quarterback coach for the Green Bay Packers, and then became the head coach in the WFL before it merged into the NFL. His name was Dick Corey. He passed away a couple of years ago. And he would always smile and say, I'm doing this pushing on you so hard for you.
Right.
I'm doing it for you. And he used to say, I know that sometimes it hurts and sometimes you don't want to do it and you don't want to run those 10 extra wind sprints we have designed, but I'm doing it for you because I know you want to win and I know you want to win all the time. And, you know, my high school team, our quarterback won the Heisman Trophy at Notre Dame a couple of years later. So 3 of the guys I played high school football with ended up in the NFL. Now in Texas, that's common. Not common in Southern California, because in Southern California they're surfing instead of practicing playing football. But it's the mindset that they have to keep. Now, I'd like to give everybody my email address real quickly, if I may.
We have about 12 minutes, Mike, and I got a couple questions that are coming in.
Let me give my email address first. Mike.Ferry@MikeFerry.com.
Complicated.
Yes, very, very simple. And the reason for that, Alex, is if we're not going to be able to cover all the questions from them, but I can, obviously you and I can. If they want a copy of all the notes that Alex and I have, send me an email today. Just write the word notes, and my assistant Lori will send it right back. They'll send all the notes to them. Second, if they have specific questions they want to ask me, they're more than welcome to send them to me, and I'll answer them all this afternoon.
Sure. Because you are great at replying to emails and text messages for those that have your cell phone. Mike, for those, so I got a question, and obviously without going into too much detail, if I'm what's something like if somebody asks me you're knocking on a door, I have a bunch of different scripts. Do I have a listing? Does Coldwell Banker have a listing? Do I have no listings? Very simple. If I have a listing, I knock on a door, say, my name's Alex Vidal, I'm with Coldwell Banker. I just listed this property up the street. In case you got a friend or a family member interested in moving into the neighborhood, here you go. See you later, right? If you're calling your sphere of influence, if you were to call a sphere of influence by owner or just listed or just sold, what's an example of a Mike Ferry script on one of those?
Well, for example, even on the just listed, just sold, take what you said, use it, it works great, and then continue with the question is, when do you plan on selling your home and moving? By saying, when do you plan on moving, they can't say no. So I eliminate the rejection by the formation of the questions I use. And they say, well, I wasn't planning on moving. How long have you folks lived in this home? They can't say no. Well, we've been here for 9 years. Wow, how did you happen to pick this part of town? Well, it's close to my husband's job. If you were to move, where would you go next? Well, we'd like to move down to Austin. And when would that be? See, they can't say no to the questions. And if they go to my website, all the scripts are there for them and there's no charge for them, of course. But see, with the for sale by owner, what you're looking for is the motivation. Okay, what is the purpose of them doing it themselves? Are they doing it to save the commission? Are they doing it because they heard their neighbor sold for a lot of money? So I'm going to ask a series of questions to determine the motivation, because the motivation is everything. The lack of motivation is the lack of a listing. But when a strong motivation is there, NAR says 94% of all for sale by owners list and pay a full commission. They've said that for years, and it's on the NAR website today. Let's be part of the 94% that lists.
And the way you're asking the questions, the what, how, mirroring, labeling, when. What you do is, there's a book I recommend. You probably read it, Mike, called Never Split the Difference, author Chris Voss. He's been a guest of the podcast. But what you're doing is you're taking exactly his strategies and tailoring it to real estate, which is the best of both worlds. Sure. By the way, I'll tell you, it's funny, using those strategies, when I make a recruiting call, my average recruiting call yes is 3 minutes. My average recruiting no call, 10 minutes. By asking.
That's right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to ask everybody to write down something else.
Yeah, go for it.
If they write capital M, capital F, capital O, which is Mike for your organization, and the number 1, okay? I'm going to ask them to go to my website. Next week is our big virtual superstar retreat. Right. We're going to, I don't know, probably 5,700 people virtually at the event this time. And if they would like to go, I will just tell them all, because of this webinar and because of Alex, and they enter MFO1, they get a pretty substantial discount. Watch, they get a free upfront seat.
The beauty of technology. Now, Mike, I want to take this question because there's one of our agents, Keith Coburn, is asking, is door knocking alarming to people since the coronavirus began in March? Now,
yeah.
I'll give you my approach. Well, Mike, you know what? Let's both answer this. You first. What do you think?
I would say this: if their arms are 6 feet long, do it. Okay, wear a mask, follow the protocols. But understand, people are much more hesitant today. Now, if I was in real estate, would I knock on doors today? 100%, because I love doing it. All so right. I could go out and knock on doors today and enjoy the experience because I understand how people behave and how they think. But obviously, with so many people being so hesitant today, the phone is a little bit faster for them. But then they better be good on the phone.
That's right. So I'll share with you my experience, Mike. And as you do these, you can say, yeah, this crazy guy in Dallas went door knocking. So I went with an agent of ours, Josh Winkler, out of Lakewood, and he's 36, hustler and a half, wants to dominate a neighborhood. And I'm like, listen, you can call. That's Mike Ferry's deal. He calls. He loves to call. I'm a door knock. I suck on the phone. I admit it. And I said, I'll go with you. And put on my Coldwell Banker hat, put on a polo, sneakers, shorts, and we went, right? And what we found was that about 30 to 40% of the homeowners were actually home, with the exception of 3 or 4 who said, no, thank you, and didn't even open the door. Most opened the door. What we found out during the course of just doing it was knock on the door with your mask off, hanging on your ear.
Yes.
Ring the doorbell, take 6 feet back so that you have your distance, right? As soon as they open the door and they've seen your complete face, mask up. Yep. And then have the conversation. And it looks like ultimately what's going to happen looks like we're going on a listing presentation for $350,000. And a caretaker who told us that the person inside the house wasn't doing so well, which is obviously a hot lead. So those are 2 potential listings out of an hour and a half of door knocking in a market where the average price is $350,000. So absolutely do it.
Here's the other side of that. Because there are more people home because of the home isolation, your hit ratio is going to be much higher than it was in January, February before it started. Right. So that's why I said, yes, I would do that. So you're going to get a kick out of this. I get this text at the 45-minute mark from Lori, and she goes, hang up. You have to do another one in 10 minutes. So I better hang up because I have to get ready for the next one. So first of all, I am thrilled that you're in Texas. I'm thrilled that you're with CB. I think they're lucky people to have you in charge. And I don't say that to, give you a friendly stroke. It's because I believe that. So I'm excited for you and the opportunity the company has with you there. And I hope that some of the people take advantage and send me a note with their questions and ask for a copy of the notes. And if I get real lucky by next year at this time, we can get a group of them to come to our Superstar Retreat.
That would be awesome. The retreats are unlike anything I've been to. So
with that, say thank you for your time, and I'll look forward to seeing you. So here's a virtual high five.
You got it, man. See you, Mike.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you all. On behalf of Coldwell Banker, the entire region, thank you all for tuning in. Austin, Houston, DFW, thank you guys. We had about 150 the entire time. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.